Hey everyone, and welcome to the Travel Podcast by ExcursionPass.
Thanks for having me back. Always good to be here.
So, we are really excited for today's deep dive because we're doing what we do best. We're looking at the realities of travel and getting ahead of all those doubts and objections you might have before booking a huge trip.
Exactly. We've lived these trips, so we know exactly where the friction is.
Right. So picture this. You're standing in the courtyard of a 16th century French chateau. The stone is just glowing in the afternoon light. The gardens are like manicured to the absolute millimeter.
It looks exactly like that postcard you saved on your phone.
Yes. But what that pristine, sun-drenched image doesn't show you is the reality of how you actually got there.
But definitely not.
It doesn't show the 14-hour logistical marathon or, the screeching toddlers in the back of a minivan, or that non-refundable $230 ticket hanging over your head if your alarm happens to not go off at 5:30 in the morning.
The stress is real.
It really is. So today we are tearing down the fantasy of the effortless European day trip. We have two specific itineraries on the table today, both promising to take you from Paris straight into the heart of the Loire Valley to see some of the most famous castles on Earth.
Huge, massive estates.
Yeah. So the first one is a TripAdvisor listing for a small group minivan tour operated by a company called France Tourism.
Right.
And the other is a direct offering from ExcursionPass titled Loire Valley Day Trip from Paris to Chambord, Chenonceau, and Blois.
Two very different approaches to the exact same geography.
Exactly. So our mission today is to dissect these two itineraries, anticipate the brutal realities of moving your body across central France, and figure out how to actually consume this much history without, completely losing your mind.
It's a lot. The contrast between the romantic expectation of the Loire Valley and the sheer mechanical effort required to view it in a single day is staggering.
Staggering is a good word for it.
I mean, when you look at the raw data of these itineraries, you are immediately confronted with the geography. You aren't just popping over to a Parisian suburb.
No, not at all.
The Loire Valley requires a massive southern trajectory out of the city.
Yeah, and I am looking at the schedule for the ExcursionPass itinerary right now, and my immediate reaction is just physical exhaustion.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
They outline a 14-hour day. 14 hours.
Yep.
You are departing Paris at 7 a.m. And the TripAdvisor minivan option from France Tourism is, it's slightly shorter at 13 hours. They have you departing from a specific agency address at 6 Rue de l'Amiral de Cotigny.
Which is pretty central, but still.
Right. But putting the exact departure point aside, okay, let's unpack this. I have to challenge the premise of this entire thing.
Go for it.
I don't care how beautiful a castle is. By hour 9 of a guided tour, my brain is going to be completely numb. Tell me why anyone would voluntarily pay to subject themselves to a 14-hour cultural ultramarathon.
Well, what's fascinating here is that you are paying for extreme efficiency. You really have to understand the economic transaction you are making with your time.
Okay, what do you mean?
If you were to attempt this independently, coordinating the trains from Paris, figuring out the regional transit, or even renting a car mapping the routes between Chambord and Chenonceau.
Oh, it would be a nightmare.
It would easily spend 3 days trying to accomplish what these operators compress into a single day.
3 days, wow.
Easily. You are actively trading slow, relaxed immersion for a highly curated, high-velocity highlight reel. The 13 to 14-hour block isn't like a stylistic choice by the tour company.
It's just a necessity.
Exactly. It is the rigid mathematical requirement of the distance and the traffic patterns returning to Paris.
Okay, so if we are talking about extreme efficiency and moving groups of people over long distances, I want to bring up a massive red flag I saw in the source material.
Let's hear it.
It's about who is actually in the vehicle with you. The TripAdvisor minivan tour proudly advertises its age range as ages 0 to 99. Yeah, specifically noting that infant seats are available. But then ExcursionPass goes the complete opposite direction. They draw a hardline minimum age of 7 years old.
Huge difference.
If the goal is high-velocity travel, combining a 13-hour itinerary with a 2-year-old seems like a formula for a hostage situation in a minivan.
A hostage situation. You're not wrong.
Am I?
No, the age policies reveal the underlying business models of the operators. When a company like France Tourism lists 0 to 99 for a small group minivan, they are playing a volume game.
Just getting bodies in seats.
Right. In a minivan, every single empty seat represents a massive hit to their profit margin. They cannot afford to turn away a family of 4 just because one of them is a toddler.
That makes sense from a business standpoint.
But the Excursion Pass age limit of 7, however, is a fascinating mechanism of expectation management.
So they are essentially curating the environment of the group.
Yes, they are protecting the product. A 14-hour day touring royal estates requires sustained attention, physical stamina, and quiet environments. By setting the floor at 7 years old, the operator is acknowledging the psychological demands of the trip. They are essentially telling you, the consumer, that this is a rigorous endeavor.
And they're willing to sacrifice the revenue of families with infants to preserve the pacing and sanity of the rest of the group.
Exactly.
Which means if you commit to that 14-hour timeline and you drag yourself to the departure point at 7 a.m., the destinations themselves have to do a lot of heavy lifting.
Oh, absolutely. The payoff has to justify the endurance test.
Let's look at the 2 main anchors of these trips, Chambord and Chenonceau. The itineraries give us some very specific details about how you spend your time at these massive estates.
And the contrast in the experience is pretty sharp, isn't it?
Very sharp. So at Chambord, the Excursion Pass notes you get free time to explore the royal apartments and the grounds. The TripAdvisor listing specifies that your Chambord visit is audio-guided, but then throws in a wine tasting.
Right, a wine tasting at a castle.
Yeah. Then you move to Chenonceau, and the focus shifts entirely. The Excursion Pass highlights the floral galleries, royal kitchens, gardens, and riverside setting.
It's quite the list.
It's like a 16th century episode of MTV Cribs.
That's a great way to put it. Having a floral gallery and a private river setup is the ultimate royal flex.
It really is. But the activities they curate for you feel entirely disconnected. You're standing in the middle of this imposing architectural behemoth at Chambord, putting on an audio guide, and then suddenly you're doing a wine tasting.
It's a pivot for sure.
And then you get back in a vehicle, drive to an elegant riverside palace at Chenonceau, and they march you down into the old kitchens to look at copper pots.
I see where you're going with this.
I'm just struggling to see how this doesn't just feel like a random assortment of tourist traps. How do these vastly different elements create any sort of cohesive experience for the traveler?
Well, it feels disconnected if you only view a chateau as a large, pretty house. But you have to shift your perspective.
Okay, shift it how?
To understand the 16th century, you have to view these chateaux as what they truly were. They were massive, self-sustaining economic engines.
So they weren't just vacation homes.
Not at all. They were the absolute center of regional supply chain.
Oh, wow. So the kitchens and the wine aren't just quaint little add-ons.
Far from it. Think of the royal kitchens at Chenonceau as the server room of a modern tech conglomerate.
The server room. I love that analogy.
Yeah. When you walk through those floral galleries and look at the tapestries, you're looking at the user interface. That's the glossy front end designed to project power and wealth to visiting diplomats.
Okay, that makes so much sense.
But the kitchens, that is the back-end infrastructure. That is the physical mechanism that kept the entire operation running. I mean, they were processing immense amounts of caloric energy to feed hundreds of courtiers, guards, and staff.
That is wild. And the wine tasting at Chambord fits into that same economic picture then.
Completely. The wealth required to build something as mathematically complex and massive as Chambord didn't just appear out of thin air. It was extracted from the land.
From the agriculture.
Exactly. A wine tasting connects you directly to the agrarian foundation of the estate. You are consuming the regional agriculture that funded the construction of the royal apartments you just walked through.
So the operators are actively combining the audio-guided history of the kings with the physical taste of the regional economy.
Yes. It bridges the gap between looking at a static museum piece and understanding a living, breathing ecosystem.
That drastically changes how you approach the day. You aren't just looking at wallpaper. You are touring a 16th century supply chain.
Which is much more engaging, I think.
Definitely. But even with that intellectual framework, processing all of that back-end and front-end data takes a toll. I mean, the brain can only absorb so much architecture before it just shuts down.
That is very true.
Which brings us to the middle segment of both these itineraries, the town of Blois. Both tours stop there, but the way the Excursion Pass itinerary utilizes Blois is, honestly, a masterclass in behavioral psychology.
The Blois stop is arguably the most critical structural component of the entire 14 hours.
Really. More than the castles.
From a pacing standpoint, absolutely.
Well, they frame it specifically as flexible time. You're given the option to find a local restaurant for lunch, take a break, or, and this is explicitly listed as optional purchase admission to a third castle, the Chateau of Blois.
Right, the optional third castle.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting. I have to be honest. If I am on this trip, there is zero chance I am buying that optional ticket.
None.
None. Give me a cafe by the river in an hour of absolute silence. The idea of cramming a third historical deep dive into the middle of the day seems absurd.
It's a lot to ask of someone.
So why even offer it? And more importantly, is giving travelers an out like this a common tour design tactic? Why make it optional instead of just baking it into the ticket price?
Oh, it's a very common tactic. Tour operators are acutely aware of a phenomenon known as cognitive load.
Cognitive load?
Yeah. In the tourism industry, there is a very real threshold of museum fatigue. By 1:00 p.m., after navigating the immense scale of Chambord, the traveler's brain is just saturated.
I can completely imagine that.
If an operator forces a group into a mandatory third castle at the peak of their cognitive exhaustion, the group becomes irritable, their physical energy crashes.
And crucially, they leave terrible post-trip reviews.
Exactly. That's the real danger for the operator.
So the optional structure isn't just them being polite. It's a defensive strategy to protect their own ratings.
It is a highly engineered relief valve. By giving you agency in the middle of a hyperstructured day, they release the psychological pressure of the tour.
The illusion of choice.
Yes, the illusion of choice is powerful. If you are an absolute history fanatic whose cognitive load threshold is much higher, the option to consume more is available.
You can go see the third castle.
Right. But for the vast majority of travelers, giving them explicit permission to opt out, to just sit at a brasserie and eat lunch without feeling guilty that they are missing something they paid for, it reboots their system.
Oh, that's brilliant. They are managing your energy so you are actually awake when you get to the floral galleries at Chenonceau later in the afternoon.
Precisely. If they didn't implement that break at Blois, the final stop of the day would be completely wasted on an audience that is too burned out to perceive it.
Wow. Okay, so we have mapped out the physical and psychological mechanics of the itinerary, and it clearly requires a lot of trust in the operator to handle your day like this.
A huge amount of trust.
But the moment you attempt to actually book one of these experiences, you hit a wall of fine print that forces you to question that trust entirely.
The fine print is where the real story is.
It always is. We dug into the cancellation policies, and the contrast between the two sources is alarming. The ExcursionPass tour is priced at €230 for an adult, and they offer free cancellation up to 1 day before.
Very generous.
Super generous. But the TripAdvisor listing for the France Tourism minivan is merciless. It says, all sales are final and incur 100% cancellation penalties.
Ouch. That disparity goes right back to the underlying economics of the vehicles we discussed earlier.
It has to be margin protection, right? If you run a small minivan and 2 people cancel 48 hours before departure, you might operate that entire 13-hour day at a net loss because you can't fill those seats in time.
Exactly, whereas a larger operation with coaches can absorb a cancellation.
But even knowing that, a 100% penalty on a high-ticket international day trip is a terrifying proposition for a consumer.
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it highlights the true cost of flexibility in travel.
What do you mean?
When you see a $230 price tag with a 1-day free cancellation policy, you are not just paying for the bus ride and the castle tickets. You are paying a risk premium.
Ah, like an insurance policy.
Exactly. You are buying an insurance policy against the unpredictable nature of international travel. Trains strike, weather systems collapse, travelers get food poisoning.
Life happens.
Life happens. A 100% penalty from the moment of purchase shifts the entirety of the financial risk onto the consumer.
That's a lot of pressure. And if you are already taking on that level of financial risk with the strict TripAdvisor lifting, you would at least expect a flawless track record from the operator to put your mind at ease.
You would hope so.
But the data on that TripAdvisor page is a complete mess. It boasts 2,223 reviews for this operator. But when you actually read them, it feels like you are hallucinating.
It's completely unhinged. The review section is entirely decoupled from the product being sold.
Decoupled is a very polite word for it. We are looking at a listing for a Loire Valley Castle tour, right?
Right.
And the highlighted reviews are people fiercely complaining about being stuck on a hot boat on the Seine River in Paris with no air conditioning during a heat wave.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And another furious review is from someone who missed their tour entirely because a bridge in Paris was closed for an art installation.
Which has nothing to do with castles.
Nothing. Then, out of nowhere, there's a glowing 5-star review talking about a lovely day trip to Bruges in Belgium, raving about the chocolates.
Belgium.
Belgium. Out of this massive pile of feedback, there is exactly one relevant review from a user named Claire G, praising a guide named Reza, that actually mentions the 3 castles.
Just one.
Just one, and the absolute cherry on top. Right below all this chaos, the TripAdvisor page simply states, this experience is currently unavailable.
Of course it does.
How does a platform with this much global reach allow an entire listing to become a dumping ground for unrelated complaints? With so much noise and strict penalties, how can a traveler feel secure in booking this?
It's a great question. What you are witnessing is the back-end mechanics of massive data aggregators failing in real time.
Failing hard.
Platforms like TripAdvisor do not manually curate individual tours. They operate as complex databases that merge vendor IDs and SKU numbers.
Okay, so it's all automated.
Yes. France Tourism isn't just a single minivan driving to the Loire Valley. They are a massive logistics company running dozens of different products. Seine river cruises, day trips to Belgium, city bus tours.
So the platform just scrapes every review attached to that parent company and dumps it onto a single landing page.
Exactly. The algorithm prioritizes volume over accuracy. The aggregator's goal is to show the consumer that this operator has over 2,000 reviews to manufacture a sense of authority and trust.
Oh, wow.
But because the database fails to segment the specific product codes, the consumer is left trying to determine if a vendor who runs a sweaty boat in Paris can be trusted to execute a complex 13-hour cross-country excursion.
It's like looking at a mismatched online dating profile. You sign up for a luxurious castle tour and end up reading about a sweaty boat in Paris. It is the ultimate buyer beware scenario.
It really is.
You are forced to navigate this chaotic data dump, filter out the ghost reviews about Belgium, and then weigh that against a 100% cancellation penalty for an experience that the page itself claims is currently unavailable.
It makes the actual logistics of visiting the castles look easy by comparison.
Totally. It demands an incredibly high level of media literacy from the traveler. You have to read the fine print, not just of the itinerary, but of the digital infrastructure selling you the itinerary.
Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway for anyone attempting this trip.
Yeah, let's wrap this up. The postcard image of the Loire Valley is real. The architecture, the riverside settings, the history, all of it exists.
It's stunning in person.
But accessing it is a logistical and economic transaction. It requires surviving a 14-hour endurance test, managing your own cognitive load, and understanding that you are touring the industrial supply chains of the 16th century, not just pretty ballrooms.
It also requires navigating the hazards of modern aggregator booking platforms to ensure you actually get the flexibility you need.
You really have to master the mechanics of the trip before you can experience the magic of it.
Well said. But, as we step back from the logistical puzzle of minivans and cancellation policies, I want to leave you with a broader question about the nature of this kind of travel.
Oh, I'm listening. What do you have for us?
When we take centuries of agrarian wealth, intricate royal economies, and architectural feats that defined a continent, and we intentionally compress them into a highly scheduled 14-hour highlight reel designed to minimize our cognitive load.
Right.
Are we genuinely connecting with the past? Or have we simply engineered a way to consume history as a spectator sport?
Wow. That is a profound question to wrestle with while you're standing in a 16th century server room looking at copper pots. The line between experiencing history and just rapidly downloading it is incredibly thin.
It really is.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope dissecting these itineraries gives you the tools to look past the pristine photos, anticipate the friction, and take command of your own travel logistics.
Happy travels, everyone!
We'll catch you on the next deep dive right here on the Travel Podcast by ExcursionPass.